Okay everybody, it is happening after years of general maintenance on the B12 Nissan Sentra. We are finally doing our first cool mod. We have done nothing but oil changes, coolant exchanges, we have been replacing brake lines, we have been replacing the front brakes, the rear drums, bushings, so many bushings. We are finally doing something cool. And that is this, everybody. This is a front sway bar off of a Nissan Pulsar. Now, this is off of the Pulsar NX, a 1989. It is, I believe, the thickest sway bar you can get. It was not an SE model, but I think the SE sway bar is only the tiniest bit bigger than this. This is almost an inch in diameter. This is bigger than a lot of sway bars that people put on their cars. And now, here's the thing, is that I don't think anybody does the testing to see what this actually does on this exact chassis. Now, this is an OEM sway bar off of Pulsar, so it should be tuned to the chassis to not give me a ton of understeer, but we will find out, because putting a big front sway bar promotes understeer, and on a front wheel drive car that will promote understeer even more. So we're gonna see if this thing actually improves the handling or makes it worse. Now, to go along with our sway bar, we also have brand new end links and bushings, energy suspension, polyurethane bushings and bracket, custom aluminum spacers, because the original car that I took this sway bar off of had the brackets welded to the chassis. Dude, it's pouring rain out here. I'm on the ground trying to get the sway bar out. Look, it's welded. I have to bend the hanger. It's welded to the frame. What is this? So we've got some spacers made up. And then we've also got some hardware to install this thing. So we're going to be doing some preliminary testing, aka driving around, whipping that steering wheel back and forth, seeing how the car feels, and I'm gonna record it from the outside so you guys can see the body roll, and then it is rusting where the bushings are meeting, so we're gonna go through and we're gonna clean it up like this, get ready for prep and paint. And then we're gonna install the sway bar and do some testing afterwards to see if this thick, chonky sway bar improves our handling. Okay guys, first thing for our prep is we're gonna go around with our wire wheel on our drill and get rid of all of these rust spots so that we can paint this thing. Okay guys, so as you saw there, we were wire wheeling, scotch brighting and sanding the sway bar. I was hitting all of the rust spots all the way down to bare metal, and then everywhere else got a general scuff. This powder coat is super hard. This old Nissan powder coating is really good. So I just brought the rust areas down to bare metal and then the rest got a scuff. We're gonna be rattle canning this, as you guys know. So we're gonna do a black and then we're gonna do a clear coat and get this thing looking great, and then we're gonna start mocking this up. Okay guys, that concludes the first day of prepping and painting this sway bar. Tomorrow when it's all dried, we'll start mocking it up and getting this thing installed. Super happy with how this thing is turning out. It doesn't look super good in this lighting, but trust me, we got a pretty even black paint job over all of this. We got the rust off and then we clear coated it. So this thing is pretty much ready to go in. We just gotta get this bad boy plopped in after it's dried. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is the next day. We have left the sway bar out to dry. This thing is pretty much all done as far as restoring it. Now we are going to hop in the Sentra and I'm going to get some clips for you guys showing you the body roll as it sits now on the Rev 9 coilovers. and then we're gonna put in the sway bar, and then we're gonna do some results. So let's go. Okay, we got you guys set up on a tripod now. We're gonna do a super long shot, and I'm gonna whip the steering wheel back and forth, and you should see the body and the front end roll over heavily. And then hopefully after this, it's much noticeable, even from outside, how little the body rolls. So let's see what we can do. Now, I'm not sure how well it picked up on camera, but the feeling that you get when driving this is that the rear is super tight because this has a 1 inch in diameter rear radius rod, which actually works also as an anti-roll bar since it ties the bottom of the 2 knuckles into the chassis and it goes all the way across. But the front feels definitely less tight than the rear, so I'm hoping this evens it out and makes it 50-50. Feels like the front and rear handle the same, if that makes sense. So let's slap this thing in. Okay, this is going to be a tricky one to show you guys, but essentially those 2 empty bolt holes are where the bushings mount in, and then this lower hole right there on the control arm is where the end links mount into. And then we're also going to have to undo the exhaust from most likely that location, slip the bar over the exhaust, and then mount up our bushings in the location, and then mount up our end links in this location. Okay guys, so we got this mid-pipe section out, and now everything should basically just bolt straight up. I am so excited for this. You guys have no idea. Everything is mounting up perfectly. The only thing is we're missing 1 washer on one of the end links. Rock Auto didn't send that, so I'm gonna have to go to Park Pros and get another washer. So for now we're missing 1 washer, but this is bolting up so perfectly. I'm so excited for this. Look at this, look at how well. Here's our sway bar, all freshly painted, mounted up with our, look at this guys, look at this, look at how cool this is. Mounted up with our custom bracketry and our spacers, our poly bushings. It's clearing everything. Now we're just gonna tighten up these end links. Okay guys, the Sentra is back on the ground. We've got the sway bar all installed. It fit perfectly. The brackets, the hardware, the bushings, everything bolted straight in. And now we're gonna go for a test drive. Also, one note is that the sway bar is slightly centered towards the driver's side, ever so slightly. So if you look, the end link on the passenger side is just like a tiny bit tweaked. I'm hoping that when I drive it, everything will kind of self-center, but if not, then I'll just lift it back up, scoot it over the touch that it needs to be over, and then drop it back down. But here we are, we're gonna see. Is this thing a race car now? Is it on rails? Is this gonna perform? Okay, and just like that, we are back in the same parking lot, same day. We're gonna do some testing. We're gonna see how much body roll we eliminated. I could be crazy in saying that the steering feels lighter in the front. The only thing that affects the weight of the steering is kind of caster, which shouldn't really be affected, but we're gonna weave back and forth and see what happened, and I'll give you guys my final thought. Okay, final conclusion and closing thoughts. So, it definitely feels tighter in the front. It matches the back more. It used to feel like, I don't know the best way to describe this, but it's kind of like, it kind of felt like the rear end was like planted and then the front was the only thing turning, so that when you would steer the car, it would just go like this. Now, when you're whipping it back and forth, it feels kind of much more like this in a sense. It's hard to describe, but it feels more balanced front to rear when it comes to turning. It used to kind of feel like you were kind of on a, like imagine you're on a paddleboard or a surfboard and you're like sitting super far back and like tilting up the front of the board and then trying to like turn the board. That's how it used to feel, and now it feels much more like you're standing in the center, and that when you paddle, it shifts the board side to side evenly, as opposed to like, it feels like the pivot point was moved closer to the center. So overall, I'm excited to do more driving with the sway bar in. Links to all the stuff I've used are in the description. This is the first video where we do something cool on the car, so I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the first like performance upgrade. So if you guys are interested in more of this stuff, make sure to subscribe. Also, I'm moving to Japan to try and buy a Skyline, so follow along for that. Bye. Oh, also there's merch. There's cool merch.